Alhamdulillah, from the blessings of Allah upon me, and I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses you all with many, many blessings. But I had the opportunity to go and study in Medina. And whilst I was a student there, alhamdulillah, I had the opportunity to meet many scholars and sit with many scholars. And some of them used to have regular halaqat in the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, or in various masajid around Medina, and some of them even in their homes. And one day, alhamdulillah, I had the privilege of sitting in the majlis of Shaykh Muhammad Mukhtar al-Shinqiti, hafidhullah. He's not dead yet, but hafidhullah wa rahimahullah. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought me to the majlis of the Shaykh at such an opportune time, because he seldom answers questions, especially in that one, because there is very little time and he has a lot to teach, and it's one of these muhadarat in the week, the whole week. So we all used to look forward to sitting in this muhadara so we could listen to him, what he has to say about Umdat al-Ahkam. It's a book on the ahkam, like the prayer and the wudu and the zakat and so on and so forth. And this was not a regular lesson, because something right at the beginning was different. The Shaykh, when he came, he usually, if he answers any questions, they're always at the end. But this particular majlis, the Shaykh, he was sitting in his usual fashion with his feet and his legs up on the chair and his eyes closed, looking down like this, when one of his students came to him and whispered something in his ear. So the Shaykh acknowledged him and said, yes. And then the student sat down in front of the microphone and he said, Fadil, the Shaykh, the questioner has a question he would like you to answer. And it wasn't really a question, but it was the meaning of a dream. And the Shaykh, from what I recall, he didn't used to like to answer, or he didn't used to like to interpret dreams. But obviously his students had asked him and he graciously agreed to interpret this dream. So the person who had a dream, he says that I saw in my dream, from what I can remember of the dream, that the sun and the moon and the stars fell from the sky. When the Shaykh heard the dream, he put his head down like this and his hand over his face, and we could hear him saying over the microphone, Allahumma musta'an. Strange scenario. And the Shaykh was obviously composing himself. And after a long pause, he said, Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. And he said, this dream means that some of the major scholars of our time will die. And then he began to speak about the death of the scholars and what a big musibah the death of the scholars will be. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will raise knowledge not by removing or wrenching it from the hearts of people, but rather by the death of the scholars. SubhanAllah, not long after that, we heard about the death of Allama Mujaddid al-Asr, Shaikh Ibn Bazz rahmatullah alayh. And I even remember when the students would pass you on the street and you would ask them, is it true? The news we've heard, is it true? And many of the students would say, we don't believe it. Maybe it's just rumors that people are, just spreading. So the only way to confirm it, we turned on the radio to hear the station, Quran al-Kareem station. And when we turned it on, the person who was on the radio, you could see from his demeanor, the way he was speaking, that some great calamity had befallen the ummah, and it was confirmed that the Shaykh had died. Barely had the ummah dried its eyes from the tears of the death of this great man, that we got the news of the death of Shaykh Muhammad Nasruddin al-Albani, Mujaddid of our time. muhaddith of our time. And that, particularly for those people who have the eyes to see, recognized what a big musibah this was. Two of the biggest scholars of our time dying. But we used to always console ourselves, saying, Alhamdulillah, Shaykh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, he's still alive. So there still remains good. The ummah still has a lot of khair, as long as his man is amongst us. Because when the major scholars die, then there is a lot of differing. And people don't have one reference point, but then they start to go to different sheikhs. And there's a lot of differing. And we felt that Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen was that anchor that was remaining, that would keep the ummah steadfast and together. Barely had the mu'arrikheen of Tariq finished writing the Ratha of Shaykh bin Bazz and Shaykh Albani, and this ink had still not dried, and we heard of the death of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, rahmatullah alayh. And we said to ourselves, after this calamity, that now we can only see there will be lots of differing. Brothers and sisters, the death of the ulama is a big calamity. These noble men, very seldom does a woman give birth to an Ibn Bazz, or to an Albani, or to an Ibn Uthaymeen. And you can see that their shoes haven't been filled. Yes, there are scholars, and alhamdulillah, there is still khair in the ummah. But who do we see now who will stand in the shoes of Shaykh Ibn Bazz, or in the shoes of Shaykh Albani, or in the shoes of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahumullah?